currently 26 years old and I'm approaching $100,000 in my Roth IRA. And a part of me was scared to say this out loud because what if it's all beginner's luck? Am I really this good at investing? But I realized this wasn't luck, and instead it was 5 rules that I subconsciously stuck to during this entire investing journey. And when I break down these 5 different investing rules, I'm going to tell you what it is, the importance behind them, but more importantly, how it has impacted my life. Because I'm going to be honest with you, you might not be able to implement all 5 of these things, but if you leave this video implementing at least one of them, I promise you, I guarantee you, more than most likely, you will see your investing journey skyrocket. When it comes to investing, you need to understand which phase of life you are in. Every time a wealthy person talks, they always tell you the importance of diversifying your money. But I'm gonna be honest with you right now, that's not the full picture. What I want you to do is take a step back, right? And ask yourself, why do we diversify our money? And the reason wealthy people and other people suggest you diversify your money is so you don't lose money in your investments, right? You want to find a way to grow your money, but also protect it at the same time. Now, if you're wealthy, that makes so much sense. If you have $1 million, you want to protect that because the last thing you want to do is lose that $1 million on a risky investment. But more than most likely, if you're watching this video and if you're young, you probably are not investing with $1 million. Instead, you're probably starting out with $1,000, maybe $10,000 if that. So, what you need to be considering is, does it make sense for me to try to preserve and kind of play it safe when I only have $1,000 or $10,000 to invest with? Long story short, when it comes to investing, I want you to think of it as 2 phases. You have the accumulation phase and then the protection phase. For the accumulation phase, you need to focus on how am I gonna get my $1,000 or $10,000 to $100,000. And the easiest way to do that is by increasing your income. So while you're young, you have to sacrifice. And you most likely can sacrifice. Think about it. You have free time, you're knowledgeable, sacrifice time on the weekends. Maybe instead of eating out, you just eat at home and you cut back on certain things. But every single second that you're up living, focus on figuring out how can I increase my income. And again, whether you're picking up an extra job, doing side hustles, or cutting back on expenses, you need to figure out how can I bring in more money? Because with that more money, you're gonna pour that back into your investments. During this accumulation phase, yes, it's about increasing your income, but once you get that money, you need to be investing in stocks. Now, yes, you can invest in index funds, but also just look into investing individual stocks. A lot of people are fearful of it, but remember, you're young. This is your time to educate yourself. Research stocks, read company profiles, read their financial statements, do all this analysis on your own just so you can understand how companies work. If you legit pull up a financial statement and educate yourself on cash flow, PE ratios, the basics of a business, you can start to understand if it's a good or bad investment. I'm gonna be real with y'all for a second, right? When I first started investing, I started with index funds. But after reading up more from Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, I came across this quote and it was don't put all your eggs in one basket. And then their counter to that statement was, hey, no, put all your eggs in one basket, just watch the basket. And that just stuck with me for a second, right? Because index funds, yes, it's a hedge against those who are unsure how to invest and they feel investing is complicated and they want something simple that's going to generate consistent returns. Buy a piece of the American economy. That's your index fund. But if you want to do an individual stock or an individual business, do your research, right? You can put all your money, all your eggs in that one basket, but you better protect it. And the way you protect your investment is by being knowledgeable about your investment. Again, understanding the cash flow, know who the board members are, look at the financial statements, what's the future trajectory, who's the CEO. All of these things are super important. And once I realized that, then I really started to do the due diligence, of me researching the companies I want to invest in and make sure I kind of understand how they make the money, how they make processes. And every quarter, I'm at the earnings. Well, I'm not at the earnings, but I make sure I look it up, see what's going on, because it's my job to protect this investment. Remember, you cannot crawl your way to wealth, so get to work. And once you attain those $100,000, you are now in the protection phase of your life. You no longer have to worry about how am I gonna make more? How am I gonna make more? You now have $100,000 plus, which means time is your best friend, right? You got compound interest and that money is gonna grow year over year over year exponentially, which means now sit back, relax, let your money grow and just enjoy your life. When you open any investor account, you need to understand how they actually work. When it comes to investing, the number one question that people always ask is, Where do I put my money? And before you try to figure out where do you put your money, which bank do you open up, which stock you buy, you need to know which type of account you need to open up. And there are three main ones. First, you have a 401k, which is a retirement plan that's through your job. There's a traditional and a Roth version. Then you have an individual retirement account, also known as an IRA. And there's also a traditional and Roth version as well. And this is a retirement account that you can open up yourself. And then lastly, you have a traditional brokerage account where you could buy and sell shares anytime. And remember, there are a lot of other investor accounts, but these are like the three main ones in the US that most people use and that most people have access to. But again, there are other ones that you can leverage. Now, each of these three accounts has specific benefits and perks, but for this section of the video, I'm gonna focus on the individual retirement account and more specifically the Roth version. And the reason I'm doing this is because one, I opened it up at the age of 19 and I'm currently 26 and this account is almost at $100,000. The first benefit of a Roth IRA is that it has tax-free gains. When it came time to choose my individual retirement account, I had to decide between the traditional version and the Roth version. Long story short, in the traditional version, when you get gains on your money and you retire at 59 and a half, you will be taxed on those gains. However, with the Roth version, when you retire, you will not be taxed when you withdraw those gains. So that right there was the main thing for me because I knew that as I got older, I'm gonna add more and more money to this account and these gains are gonna grow. It's gonna be over the millions. And last thing I wanna do is be taxed in the future on these gains. For the second benefit, there are no required minimum distributions. When I found this out at the age of 19, two things came to my mind. One, when I hit 59 and a half, right? This account's easily gonna be over $1 million, but I can even let it grow bigger and bigger because I don't have to take it out at 59 and a half. But the other part that caught my attention about the no required minimum distributions is that this is the easiest way for me to build generational wealth, right? Again, start this at 19, grow it year over year, year over year, year over year. It'll surpass the millions or at least 1 million. But then when I pass away, I can just give this to my kids. And that right there has already set up my future son, my future daughter, and their family to have generational wealth and just kind of get a leg up or get a head start. And for me personally, that was super important because when I was at Georgetown, a lot of kids had so much money, but it's also because they came from money within their family because their parents thought about this before they had a kid. The third benefit, well, not really a benefit, but something that I saw was Peter Thiel, one of the co-founders of PayPal. He ended up buying PayPal stock very early since he was one of the co-founders, and he bought it on pennies, I think in the late 90s or something, and he bought it within his Roth IRA, and his account is worth over $5 billion, and that's all tax-free. And so a part of me, when I opened this account at 19, or around that age, I was like, you know what? If I get enough money in here, I might be a founder of a company one day, or I might get access to an early seed round of some sort of company before they go public, and I can probably leverage my money and cash flow within my IRA and get early access, and who knows, maybe I could be a billionaire, all tax-free. And the last thing that a lot of people sleep on is within the Roth IRA specifically, right? As I mentioned earlier, you can't withdraw gains until 59 and a half, but your contributions, when you contribute your 6,000 or your, I think it's 7,500 every year now, when you contribute that money, you can remove those contributions and you won't be taxed or get any early penalties. And then I thought to myself, right? My account's about to hit $100,000. What if, just what if, when I'm 35, my account's probably at $500,000. And the reason I'm saying that is because then from 19 to 35, I probably contributed maybe around $60,000 or so. More than most likely, if I pull out $60,000 or if I pull out $30,000 for a big family trip or to splurge or to enjoy it, it probably won't hurt my portfolio as much because again, I have such a big, investing amount. Because think about it, if I had $500,000 in that account, right? 10% of $500,000 is $50,000. So if I take out $50,000 from the account, yes, I shrunk my account by 10%, but I can get that $50,000 probably within the next 2 years or even sooner without me doing anything. And I think that's what like kind of also struck a nerve in my head when I was 19. I was like, cool, I'm making these contributions year over year, year over year. But maybe down the line, when this gets to 500,000 or $1 million, I could start to take a little bit of that money out and enjoy it for myself. But even though I just said that, to be honest with you, more than most likely, I'm gonna just leave the money in there and just let it grow year over year over year because I gotta see that account hit $1 million for real. And now the whole point of that, right, is Once I saw these different features within the IRA and the Roth IRA specifically, then I started to strategize around my investing. Then I went hard. When I was at school, I'm picking up extra hours work study. I'm taking these refund checks and I'm pouring it in here, because the way the account is structured, I know the real benefits that when I'm 35, 40, or 59 and a half, it's gonna pay off and I'm gonna be so happy for my decisions. Before that investor account hits $100,000, you gotta start at zero. When I first started investing, I was high key like, yo, what's the point? I'm never gonna hit $100,000, especially as a college student. Like, how am I gonna not get that amount of money, but just find the time and resources to actually save and invest that amount of money on top of other living expenses? But after a couple YouTube videos, you know, when you watch them like motivational YouTube videos and those money YouTube videos, I told myself like, yo, forget it. You're gonna figure it out. And in that moment, I legit opened up the IRA because I did some research and I just contributed, I think like probably $300 to the account. I gotta find a screenshot. Hopefully I could put it up somewhere here of like my first actual investment in my Roth IRA. And like once I bought some stock, I probably bought like Apple or Tesla during that time. It was like 2019 or so. I got addicted. Like I legit couldn't stop buying because I was on this rush or high, you know, seeing me earn probably $3 from a $300 investment. Like again, I'm in college. That meant a lot to me because it's like, yo, I just made $3 free doing nothing. I'm just chilling. And once it hit me in my head that, yo, you could make money and you could like, you know, get more money. Every single extra dollar I started to earn, invest. And that caused me and forced me to pick up extra shifts or even use my refund checks and pour it back into these investments. And before I knew it, my investor account was probably around like $5,000 in value. But the important thing to remember is that, like, again, some days or some weeks I might invest $20, $10 here, but next week I'll get a big refund check from the government. You know, during the pandemic, I might get hit with a $2,000, all $2,000 going into that investor account. And again, all those small numbers and then a big number here, a couple big numbers here, it all started to add up. And now my account was at $5,000. And now the aha moment for me was when I remember this, yo, that $5,000, right? In my account, I checked it like the next day or probably the next week, and it was like 5,000 and like 450 or something. Like my account jumped 10% because I think, again, it was probably Apple or Tesla, I can't remember, but the stock price increased. And in that moment, I was just like, yo, I got an extra $400, $500. That's enough food to eat out for the whole week. Like I ain't gotta eat cafeteria lunch. I ain't gotta worry about the meal plan. Like I can eat out and chill. And in that moment, I was just like, damn. And all I really had to do was just choose a stock and let it sit there and chill. And then the more it sat with me, I was just like, damn, what if I had $10,000, right? Then I might get $1,000. And what if I get $100,000? Then I'll get an extra $10,000 every year. And that simple restructure or reframing of, you know, the investment itself, I didn't look at the quantity, right? The actual dollars I had. Instead, I looked at that percentage gain and wondered like, damn, what if I had more money to play with? And to be honest with you, ever since then, I didn't look back. But the lesson here, right? All that started because what I said at the very beginning, small numbers add up. When I was doing work study jobs or I got refund checks or any extra money I saved, or if I got gifted for my birthday, invest it. Because eventually all those small numbers add up. And that led me to that $5,000 in the investor account. And that led me to have that realization like, yo, the more money, the more dollars I could throw at this account, all I gotta worry about is maintaining that 10% return on my investment. Remember, you're not investing for today's return. You're investing based off of what that percentage means when you have a 10x bigger base of capital to play with. Not to play with, but really to invest with. Although investing every single dollar is important, I want to urge you to start an emergency fund first. Alright, quick story time. Towards the end of my college years, I had to pull some money from my Roth IRA account. I think it was like $2,000. And look, I was on scholarship, but I went part-time during the last semester and I had a big student bill that I had to pay since I was no longer on, you know, financial aid, grants, and scholarships. And that low-key stuck with me because it's like, damn, the $2,000, right? The stock that I had in Apple or Tesla, that could have been worth way more than $2,000 today, but I needed the cash. And even more recently, I experienced the same thing when I had to help out a family member because they needed some cash and I had to sell some shares of Nvidia. Yes, Nvidia, the stock that's going crazy, going hyperbolic, going wild. I had to sell some of my shares. And like, in the past month and past weeks, I haven't been down about it, but I'm just like, damn, like that money and those shares will be worth so more, probably double or triple in the next 3-5 years. And I'm like, I had to sell it to help out a family member. And it's more so just the fact I'm upset with myself that like, yo, I had to sell it and I didn't have any cash put aside for an emergency. I guess the point I'm trying to get at is before you invest, right? Don't be like me. Don't think backwards. You want to be future thinking, and you want to remember that an emergency is always going to come up. And when an emergency comes up, you should have a nest egg of money that's ready to deploy and help whoever or help you get out of whatever situation you're in. Instead, I relied on investments. And if I didn't have those investments, then I probably would have had to leverage a credit card, which means that's debt, which is never, ever a good option. Because again, remember, selling your investments at the wrong time or selling it in general, you more than most likely have lost so much future or so many future dollars than you can ever expect, because more than most likely, the index fund or the stocks you invested in, they're going to increase in value over time, and they're going to increase way more than the current dollar amount they are today. And I'm even going to be super honest with you guys. I'm in that process right now. When I get paid from my job and I'm getting paychecks, I have to like legit hold my hands, cuff myself up, and like just restrain myself from buying stocks or from investing and doing things. And instead, I'm taking that money, obviously paying down my credit card, but I'm taking that money, putting it aside. Because over the next couple weeks and over the next couple months, I'm gonna have a good enough emergency fund. And once it hits around that 20K mark, I'm gonna be like, you know what? If anything comes up in the future, I'm ready to help a family member. I'm ready to help myself. And one, that's powerful because I have the money and I'm in a position to help people. But two, it's reassuring for me to know like, hey, I'm being responsible with my money and I'm being smart with my money. Yes, it's important to invest, but you need to make sure you have cash on hand. Not only for emergency funds, but also, what if another investing opportunity comes up? What if the stock crashes tomorrow or whatever? That's a buying opportunity. Stocks are on sale and I can dip into some of that emergency fund and buy stocks at a discount. Now I know this is like the fourth rule, but this one is high-key the most important one that a lot of people overlook. If you don't remember anything after watching this video today, remember this step specifically. Before you invest, save up some money. Have some money set aside. Because when a rainy day happens, and trust me, every year it always rains, you want to make sure you're set up for success without having stress, without eating into your investments, and most importantly, without going into debt. For my last and final rule, turn off the news. It's important to remember that the news is never your friend when it comes to investing. The news is designed to be entertainment media. They're like low-key rage baiting you every day so you can be informed and in the know of different viruses, different political stuff, different financial stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all noise. And if you listen to that news cycle every day, especially the financial sector, that version, more than most likely, you're gonna end up losing a lot of money because you're gonna make decisions that are based off of emotions and hearsay instead of facts. I remember last year in 2025, right? I was coming home from work and my parents were asking like, you know, hey son, are you worried about the stocks? And this was during the entire tariff thing with Trump saying, you know, he's gonna tariff China 100% and this and that, which meant companies were gonna have to increase their prices because their supply chain was gonna become more expensive. But after doing my own research, right, I knew that the Trump legally could not impose global-wide tariffs. Like I knew that was not able to happen. And still, it was on the news. People were worried. And I legit told my parents like, yo, my stocks is probably down like $30,000 because they asked. But I told them like, I'm not worried. Again, when stocks are on the decline and everyone's fearful and they're worried, that's the best time to buy. Because when a stock price is down, to me, that just means the stock is on sale. And that decision or that core memory is legit why I'm talking about this section. Because again, I knew what Trump was doing was not legit. And more importantly, when I looked at the financial statements of Nvidia, of Apple, of Amazon, the companies I were investing in, sure, let's say if it did end up happening and he was somehow able to get away with it, they were going to take a hit financially. But at the end of the day, their business structure, their business operations, their business model, it didn't change, which means they're still a good investment. If I invested with them before and now this thing comes up, they're no longer a good investment? No, I did my due diligence. I did my research. I looked at the financial statements, I looked at the quarterly reports, and this is still a good business to invest with. And I'm not trying to sound cocky or confident, but more so what I'm trying to explain to you is like, I operate in my lane of knowledge, in my lane of confidence. I understand how those businesses work. I understand the cultural relevance, the supply chain, all those things. But when it comes to real estate, crypto, or even options trading, I don't understand how those things works, so I don't play in that world. I can't give you real advice on that. I know what I know. And that's what I want to inform you on, right? Is when you hear the news and all this other stuff, ignore it, block it out. You do your own research, you do your own studying, and come to your own conclusion. Because again, this is your money that's on the line. And no one's gonna care about your money more than you will. So that's when you take the ownership, the initiative, and the responsibility to make sure like, yo, let me fact check what's going on out there in the world. And when you're avoiding the news and the naysayers, don't become cocky, like legit. Still have some humility where you might be wrong or you might make a mistake, and that's okay because you're learning in this, investment journey, and just as a journey, legit, as being a human being, but still have that sense of confidence, that sense of like, you know what? I did my research, I studied, I know what's going on. I'm gonna place my bets here and let's see what happens. Remember, the news is just pure entertainment and their job is to get clicks, views, likes, impressions, and low-key, they're like the ultimate rage baiter. So in all honesty, just avoid the news, please. Especially with AI, like it's so hard to tell what's real and what's not. So again, do your own research. Every day, I remind myself like this journey started when I was 19 years old. But more importantly, like regardless of your age, right? If you're 25, 35, 40 watching this, the real starting point for me was making that initial investment. Legit, adding those first $5 to my account. And I remember like telling myself, yo, how the hell am I gonna get $5 to 100K? 7 years later, I realized it. And thankfully, I'm still young. And most likely you're still young too, but it's like, I'm happy I made that decision. And I want you to make that decision. Just start. It might not be as smoothly or as easy or as lucky as me, but throughout these previous 7 years, I really started to realize like, yo, this is not luck. I followed certain things and I did it subconsciously. Like I didn't write these things out, but I'm starting to realize like, yo, these were the steps I took when it came to investing. Am I perfect? No. Am I still trying to figure it out? Hell yeah. But that initial decision, right? The small numbers add up part, that's so true. Any little extra bread you get, just chuck it away. Because at the end of the day, whether, I live till I'm 80, or God forbid if I pass early, like, I'm already on track with generational wealth. Whether it goes to my immediate family, my kids, my grandkids, whoever it goes to, I just feel happy knowing that, like, yo, you know what? I did something, and I left generational wealth for someone. I always see these videos of people upset, like, oh, I'm not a Nepo baby. Why didn't my parents leave money? And, sometimes I feel that because, I'm not trying to be doing videos and working all day, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Let me change that. Let me be that person that sacrifices or, probably doesn't go out as much or have fun at a younger age, but still, I took the time, energy to invest and put that bread there because by the time I'm 30, 40, it's going to be a big amount. And the same can be true for you. And all you need to do is start, stay disciplined, and implement some of these investing strategies. As always, thank y'all for all the support on all my previous videos. They've been doing well. If you're new here, check out some of them. They're like low-key fire. And I'm not just saying that. The comments be saying that too. But as always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as well. I'll be active there. Shoot me a DM. And as always, love your wallet because it'll love you back. Peace.